Dangerous, wild Namibia, full of cannibals, lions, spiders and snakes. Well, that's the impression a lot of Europeans have when they think about a country in Africa they know nothing about. And when I tell them I traveled for 3 months around in Namibia, they always ask me the same questions. Is it safe? Do you have a gun? Is the police corrupt? Can you drink the water? Is there food? A lot of questions. Well, while I'll try to answer some of those questions, I will show you some video clips of Namibia so that you don't fall asleep by looking at my ugly face and hearing my boring voice. My answers are of course based on personal experience during the COVID period of 2021. The first question people not living on the African continent always ask me is, how dangerous is Namibia? Well, I've traveled a lot all over the world and I can honestly say that Namibia is probably the safest place I've ever been. But that depends of course on what you consider to be safe or dangerous. For me, danger is created by people. And Namibia is, after Mongolia, the least densely populated country in the world. So very few people to worry about. Furthermore, all Namibian people we met were very friendly. Extremely friendly. We never experienced any bad vibes. We never felt threatened. And Namibians were always helpful. And if you believed that danger is created by wild animals, then you're not well informed. It's easy to protect you from wildlife, just don't be stupid. It's okay with my reputation and maybe I should be afraid of wildlife. I grew up in Belgium but lived for nearly 40 years in South Africa. All dangerous wildlife there is in national and private parks. In Namibia, not so. There are of course national and private game parks in Namibia, but there are no fences around the deserts and the savannas. And roughly 80% of Namibia is desert or savanna, and there's plenty of wildlife there. I walked around in the desert and the savannas. I saw footprints of elephants. I saw them and they saw me. I saw footprint of giraffe. I saw them and they saw me. I heard the hyenas laughing early in the morning and the hippos honking in the evening. But did I ever feel endangered? No, not at all. And no, I don't have a gun. We really felt very safe everywhere in Namibia. Along the roads where mainly tourists drive, you will find a lot of street vendors, or should I say desert trek vendors. They are all friendly, a little bit pushy, but never aggressive. They just want to do business. In the Kunene region in the northwest, where the Himbas live, it's totally different. We hardly saw street vendors there. But everybody, and I really mean everybody, along the roads we drove was begging. Even babies carried on the back of their moms were sticking out their hands. Strangely, when you leave the region, begging stops immediately. And do you have to travel together with other travelers in Namibia? Well, we did so for quite a distance. Is it a must? No, I don't think so, if you have a very reliable vehicle. But it's nice to sit around a campfire in the evening with some friends. In the far northwest of Namibia, or the Wild West as they call it, there are not very many travelers or locals with cars. So there I would say, yeah, for peace of mind, travel together with another vehicle. However, we met there several people who traveled alone with old vehicles or even with bicycles. And do you really need a 4x4? If you really want to see Namibia, yes, you need a 4x4. Not if you stay on the main roads, but driving in the desert is tricky, even with a 4x4. Sandtrags and a shovel are a must, or whatever vehicle you drive. And those are far more useful than a winch. Good sandtrags are expensive, but they are really worth their money. And don't forget to tie a rope on each one of them. I was stuck in the mud, did some digging, put Centrex under my tires, and I could get out very easily. But it took me another hour to find each track, as they were now so deep in the mud I couldn't see them. Is the police corrupt? To my experience, no, not at all. We have been pulled over several times by the police, and I never experienced even the smallest hint for a bribe. I was once stopped at a roadblock on a highway for driving without my headlights on. They could have easily fined me or asked for a bribe, but no, just a friendly reminder that it's compulsory for a truck to drive on the Namibian highways with headlights on. And that was it. A similar experience when the police pulled me over because my number plate was not visible. Just a friendly warning. The police in Namibia are very polite and professional. And are the custom officers at the border post corrupt? We crossed the border from South Africa to Namibia at the Vioolsdrift border post. The exit from South Africa went very smooth. Only a reminder to carry a reflective jacket as I was a truck driver. On the Namibian side, the officials wanted to see the truck on the inside, as they have never seen such a truck before. Only our fridge was checked by a custom officer. No bribes were asked for. However, some friends of us driving a small Suzuki Jimny 4x4 crossed the border at the same border post as we did a few days later. But because the Jimny had 2 spare wheels, one officer asked for a bribe of a few bottles of beer. When he realized that they didn't have any alcohol with them, he demanded 6 cigarettes. We left Namibia 3 months later at the Mohembo border post with Botswana. At the Namibian side, we completed all paperwork in less than 5 minutes. And just when I started my truck, a policeman came running to me and demanded an exit fee. He said all heavy vehicles have to pay this. Yeah, as I'm not prepared to pay for any form of bribe, I walked back into the offices and I confronted the custom officer there with this demand. The policeman quickly disappeared, and that was the end of the demand for a bribe. In general, our border crossing in and out of Namibia went very smooth. When you enter Namibia, you must pay a relatively small amount of money for road taxes and insurances, but this is all above board, nothing illegal. The rates are clearly advertised at the entrance of the customs building. And you receive an official receipt for this. Fuel costs are about 75% of South African prices. That's strange for me because at the border you can see they truck in the fuel from South Africa more than 1,000 kilometers away. Clearly far less taxes to pay in Namibia. Availability? We didn't have any problem, but we heard from a regular visitor to Namibia that there were no problems because the demand for fuel during the COVID period was far less than normal. I would recommend having some fuel jerrycans with you because the distances are quite large. I installed an additional 100-liter diesel tank and I had 8 spare jerrycans with me, which gave me a total range of more than 2,000 kilometers or 1,300 miles. I only used the spare diesel tank once, never the jerrycans. In the small villages in the north, they sell fuel out of jerrycans and plastic bottles. I wouldn't trust that. You never know what they add to the fuel. We saw everywhere repair services offered by bush mechanics. I've heard that these guys give a good service. Tire repair services are offered even in the smallest settlement of the desert. Except in the far northwest, the Kunene region where the Himbas live, everybody understands English. Is free camping or wild camping okay? That's a good question. We did a lot of free camping on fantastic places and never had a problem. We even camped at some places inside national parks where the police and rangers came around and checked if we were not poachers. Never were there any comments given that we couldn't wild camp there. But on one spot, a very rude German-speaking person, the owner of a safari operation, came around and he said that free camping was illegal in Namibia. I don't know if that was correct or not. In any case, the distance between official campsites in some areas is so big that we couldn't do anything else but wild camp. We camped a few times on community campsites. Their rates are very negotiable. Water and clean ablution facilities are always available. We filled our tanks each time with tap water and never experienced any problem drinking it. Quality food is available at each town we pass through, but maybe 10% more expensive than in South Africa. Good quality fresh meat you can find in warehouses like Spar. Road conditions are now generally better than in South Africa. The majority of the roads in Namibia are gravel or dirt roads, of which the busiest are regularly maintained. Driving at 120 km per hour on these gravel roads is not a problem. Braking at that speed is something different. Just remember, there are hardly any fences in Namibia, and goats and elephants don't move that fast out of the way. And on some roads you will see holes dug by anteaters. On the less driven roads they do far less maintenance. The corrugation on some of these roads is so bad that the fillings in my teeth fell out. So we drove very slowly, sometimes on the wrong side of the road. On the good roads I also recommend driving slowly. Otherwise you will miss views like these. And who wants to drive fast in a beautiful country? And if or when you go to Namibia, be sure to spend some time in the desert. It's worth it. Nights can be cold, very cold. The day can be warm, very warm. We have lived in large cities like Antwerp and Brussels and Johannesburg, but I won't trade any of those places for the Namibian desert. If you have more questions, please email me. I will try to answer them. And will I go back to Namibia? For sure, anytime.